Honda Fireblade is back, and I'm going to give you some real-to-life dynamic facts about the bike and no sugar-coated stuff from the brochure. Welcome to Chasing Tents, everyone. My name is Hebi. Thanks for joining me. Let's talk about the new Honda Fireblade.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Journalists from all over the world have just finished testing the bike at the Losail MotoGP circuit in Qatar, and they've given their honest opinion on the bike, and I'm going to summarize that opinion and give you proper, rideable, believable, dynamic facts about the bike. And like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, there's going to be no caramel coated or sugar coated stuff from the brochure. It's going to be proper facts because Honda Fireblade was a darling for those people who love track days from the early 2000s to the mid 2000s to even now. And that bike, if you're on a track day, that track day was full of Fireblades, and if you needed a part, you would get 10 people who would give you that part, and they'll also help you out here. In this episode, we're going to discuss some real facts which made this bike a proper cult bike and why the new bike is a super hit. Now let's talk about the engine first. The technology in the engine is directly from MotoGP. Aha, that's from the brochure, I hear you say. It absolutely is from the brochure because it's very believable, because their RC213V bike was 90% a MotoGP bike, and it was an absolute epic bike. The only thing is, with the engine, the power, 90% of it is in the top range, so nothing below 6,500. Everything is after about, you can say proper power, after about 8,000 to 14,500 revs. And that could be a bit of an issue for people who really want to ride this bike on a regular basis on the road. And Honda Fireblade was always famous for their rideability factor. But maybe that could be because of 5 catalytic converters in the exhaust, but we'll talk about that in a bit. However, the engine doesn't have any kind of adjustable shift cams or variable valve timing. It's the purest engine. The air intakes are huge for proper kind of ram air technology. Let's not mention too much Suzuki words, eh? Now let's move on to suspension and brakes. Now you've got two models, SP and the stock model. On the SP model, you get the electronic Öhlins, and the beauty about these electronic Öhlins is you can actually adjust them manually and you can keep that setting. So sometimes people are worried that on a track, these electronic suspensions can have their own brain and they can do something unpredictable. However, you can keep it to one setting or manually adjust them and keep it to that setting, and the bike then behaves like any other manual Öhlins suspension bike would. On the stock model, however, you've got the normal Showa suspension, which to be honest isn't that bad at all. In terms of brakes, you've got the Brembo Stillimer calipers in the SP model. However, I didn't see any brake cooling ducts, but I'm pretty sure you can buy them aftermarket if need be. On the other stocker, you got the Nissan brakes. However, on both the bikes, there were no brake fade reported at all. Now let's move on to livery because I find it quite interesting. Now the SP livery, which is kind of a red and a blue color, you can also have that livery on the normal stock model. So you can make your stock bike look like an SP bike. The other color is the black color, which is quite nice. Now let's move on to exhaust. Now the Akrapovic exhaust on this bike is Euro 5 compliant. It's got about 1,000 catalytic converters inside it. However, it sounds really good. I mean, it sounds absolutely excellent. I heard many sound videos, and you know what? Even drive-bys, ride-bys, pretty good sound. However, I really think, even though we've come a long way in terms of like OEM exhaust technology, I really think to keep the cost down, Honda should have done what Suzuki did, put an ugly can, because everyone's going to change a can later on anyways. Not many people are going to have this Acura can with all these catalytic converters on a track. So I really think Honda could have saved some money here and kind of dished away the Acura kind of thought and just have a normal, ugly looking can, and then people can change it later on. I mean, they can subsidize or make a aftermarket Acura cheaper without any cats. That would be great at a dealership. Now let's move on to handling and feel. Now this is the best thing about this bike. Reportedly, the front end of the bike is even better than the Aprilia RSV4. I say Aprilia RSV4 because that is known to have the best front end in the market at the moment, and this bike, slow corners, fast corners, is so agile and the front end is absolutely planted. Now let's move on to the next point, which is keyless ignition. I kind of like it on one side because there's no key, so you've got a clean camera angle, you've got a clean hunker down position, there's no key in the way like a Ducati on a tank. On the other side, I don't know how secure it is. You've got a button on the side, then you've got like a Cadillac style kind of a knob thing. I don't know how secure it is, but it's something different and it's very neat. Alright, let's move on to electronics. Now electronics on this bike, you'd be surprised, compared to the 2017 one, it's been completely revamped. You can completely adjust the settings on fly now. You can move the torque control settings. You can also reduce or increase engine braking. And the best thing is, now this is coming from a Japanese bike, you can completely turn off the ABS on track. Now, there is no interference of ABS whatsoever, and that's been reported after the editors have tested the bike, and this is excellent. And even on a medium wheelie control setting, the bike can still wheelie. So you can have a lot of fun on this bike with the electronics kind of saving your backside. Let's move on to wings. Now, wings on a lot of bikes are like a bit of an afterthought, to be honest. On this bike, just like the Yamaha R1 2020 bike, it feels very much part of the whole fairing, front, side, all the way to the end. I mean, it looks really, really neat. It makes the bike look really wide. I mean, even the new Ducati V4, kind of the updated version, has got the V4R wider fairing. This one also has a wider fairing with the integrated wings. But what I really like about the bike, I mean, previously they said in the 2017 bike felt like riding an 800cc bike. It was so agile. This time they've said that it feels like a 600cc bike. And now 200 horsepower above bike, which feels like a 600, I think that's a massive compliment from the editors. Let's talk about ergonomics and position. Now the tank, the foot pegs, the clip-ons and seat are only 2mm different from their RC213V bike, which was an absolute brilliant bike, as I mentioned earlier. Also, the tank has been lowered. So if you think about it, normally you have a double bubble screen. Now if you lower the tank, the normal OEM screen now feels like a double bubble. However, on the other side, the foot pegs have been raised, so you kind of know where I'm going here. The position is really cramped. Even though the seat has been raised by 10mm, it still feels really cramped. And Honda did say it's mainly because the Honda test riders are not very tall. So maybe the whole kind of ergonomics and position are kind of designed because of the testers. I mean, it's just like the RSV4 is kind of similar because of Max Biaggi, because Max Biaggi is the guy who kind of did all the work on the RSV4. Let's move on to something very interesting, the dash, because dash these days are kind of the highlight of a lot of bikes, because, I mean, take BMW for example, their dash is absolutely brilliant. Honda have done a really good job on their dash. One thing I really like about the dash is the LED lights, separate, individual LED lights. I mentioned that because I've got an I2M dash on my Aprilia, and you know, when you are on a track, you're looking ahead, you're looking at your line, your braking point, your exit and everything, You really don't want to look at integrated lights inside the dash screen, no matter how bright they are. When you look at these kind of lights, like individual LED lights, you can really see them from the corner of your eye, and you can really see your rev range very clearly. So I really like this dash on the Honda. And finally, I want to mention the most important thing about the bike, the price. I really think this can take this bike down big time, because no matter how much you love the Honda Fireblade, asking £24,000 for the SP model, I think is not really justified. Coming from the 2017 model, Honda had to prove a lot. And I really think, and this is my personal opinion, I think they should have just said to their team, you know what, we just want to break even. I'm not saying Honda to make a loss, I'm just saying that Honda should have said to their people, we make a lawnmower all the way to a private jet. We can just do with breaking even on this bike, but we just want to show the world what we can do. So asking 19 grand, even 18 grand for this bike would have been epic. They would have completely crushed the market. I mean, look at Kawasaki with their KRT winter edition RR bike. If you remember the limited edition with the red top, world endurance engine top, auto blipper, quick shifter, Showa, BFF suspension. I mean, that bike was loaded with technology. And the H2, Kawasaki lost money on the H2 and that KRT edition winter edition bike. Why couldn't Honda just say to the team, let's break even, let's make something absolutely crazy in terms of price and technology? But on the other side, I've got a lot of positive feelings about this bike. I've got a lot of positive feelings about Honda as a brand as such, because whenever they've produced their Fireblade, they've never thought that their riders are some world superbike riders or MotoGP riders. They make a great bike, and then the rider makes it even greater. This bike is fantastic. It's epic. I just think the price is too much, and I just think they could have reduced the costs a bit by not having an acro exhaust as standard, just putting something basic and then reducing the cost. However, I really think this bike is still going to be a massive hit. The big question which everyone is asking, comparing this bike to the BMW, is too early to say at the moment. In terms of price, I really think a BMW for around 19k, and remember, this bike, the SP model, doesn't even come with the carbon fiber wheels. It does come with a lithium battery, but no carbon fiber wheels. So if you think about it, BMW is giving for 90 odd K a bike, M Sport Edition, carbon wheels, with the full shebang. Honda's got a lot to prove here, and I hope they do it. Thank you for watching, guys. Please subscribe. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.